Hello, hello, hello. No webcam this morning. But man, it is Labor Day in the United States. And I was thinking, I'll probably skip the stream today. There's a lot of traders out there skipping out on today. I was looking at the charts though this morning on the week on some of these FX pairs. I'm like, you know what? Probably be a good idea to do a little stream today and point out a couple of things to you guys. Because we're going to be heading into a storm here for the week ahead. On the aside, what I got up here right now is the Japanese stock market. And they are going up, up, up and away. They will probably go up by about another 1% here. See how I found the peak in the distribution here for where your top for the month is most likely going to come in. So by the end of the week, I'd anticipate that they'd be up here. Alrighty. Europe seems to be doing A-okay so far. Man, is that choppy data or what? And then you have French, Germany, the NASDAQ. Eesh, yeah, NASDAQ either needs to make a big old pop here to the prior high, or it's going to be taking a bit of a swing lower. S&P, same shindig. US 30, also sort of the same exact thing for the month. Aussie and UK, also same situation. Look, you got 1, 2, 3. This is a trimodal distribution there. As for the companies that are getting striked on, looks like Chevron popped. I have no idea why it popped, but the fact that it's now at the top of this range means come the open for the next US market open, I'll be surprised considering that the union strikes against Chevron in Australia are also occurring. I'd be surprised. Unless there was some news that actually broke about the strikes against Chevron that made this thing pop. I'll have to do some research after the stream. Obviously, this just happened on last Friday. I haven't really looked at charts all too much. I've been doing research reading outlooks. There's only so much you can go over in the world. There's a lot of things happening. GM still going flat here. Ford still going flat. Nvidia, it tried to make a gun for that $500 level, and it's got pulled back again. 470, 460. That might be an interesting spot to nab along here. Stellantis also getting hit hard. Disney, whoa, Disney gapped down as hard as Chevron gapped up. I mean, if you know anything about using growth inflation matrices to do your investments, setting up your portfolio in such a way, for the United States right now, buying energy sort of utility and selling entertainment, that's kind of standard operating procedure for the current economic environment in the United States. All right, now we're getting into the FX stuff. So real quick, I'm going to do one more percent change organization. Make sure all these things are in order of what's moved the most so far today. All right, and these are the pivot probability range, not the pivot probability, the range probability ranges for the week. We can bring up pivot probabilities too. And you can see pivot probabilities, even this says you don't have great odds of going higher. It's like 59% of the time you get above that R0.5 pivot. And even then, it's like, well, your odds get super thin up here. Unless you're targeting above R2 and you have some sort of catalyst to anticipate that we would jump up here. It's most of the time you're getting your top around here, at least based off the pivots. Let's see. As far as range probabilities goes, you got the potential to do a little more sliding on the upside here for the pound yen into this R1, R0.5 range. It's a guess whether or not you get it or not. It's a guess, even if you go into that range. I mean, sure, there's probabilities there, but most of your odds for where your top comes in on the week is here between central pivot R0.5. So this little zone right here, yeah, this is kind of the kill zone right now. And if it comes up here, oh, it's probably not going to stay up here for too long. Probably not going to stay up there for too long. And then on to the next one here. Yeah, this is what I'm mostly concerned about, is that we effectively peak out right here in this spot in our distribution of weekly highs of where we top out for the week. Either this top is coming in here, or we're going to go up another 60, 80 pips roughly, somewhere around in this peak of the distribution. So either we're getting our peak here and we are effectively topping out sometime in the next 36 hours, effectively going sideways until US market participants can actually step in. And at the point at which US market participants begin to step in after this holiday here, if they drive the market higher, all the more power to them. But if they, if they're driving it up into the latter half here on Tuesday, I mean, on Wednesday, you're getting Chinese data. On Friday, you're getting Chinese data. The China data is kind of ruling the market sentiment right now. So if this thing rallies into this part of your distributions going into Tuesday, I am not going to be happy. Right, I'm going to be looking at something like this. And let's go ahead and set this up in a way. So let's do our measure. So that's 3.4. That's 3. Yeah, we want this one up here. All right. And so from a top here to a low on the week, probably down there. So the trade plan will probably be on the more volatile side this week. But that is pretty nominal. Again, all we're doing here is we're looking at the trade plan with the highest probability of occurring. And we are writing up the plan with the highest probability. That is the nominal trade plan. Whatever trade plan has the highest probability of occurring is always the nominal trade plan. Come on, let me grab that. Okay, set that to red. Today's date. As always, timestamp in the arrows, all that good stuff. Yep. All right, on to the next one. Looks like we're going to get a bit more movement up here on the pound, likely. Let's go ahead and timestamp this one. I'll copy and paste the text here so I don't have to constantly retype it. There we go. So up to there, and yeah, depending on how strong the UK economy is, you could end up either back down to there, either around 125.6, or you're going to 125. And let's see here. What's our probability of going below this spot here? 61% of the time you go below here. Yeesh. All right, well, what does our seasonal pivot probability say? Oh, wow. Ain't that a nice little lineup? Check that out. The seasonal statistics are lining up quite well with our pivot probabilities here. So yeah, roughly around there is where your probabilities seasonally, based off pivots, and based off distribution of weekly returns. Yeah, that looks good. And let's look at our low end here. We can turn on the pivots for clarity's sake. Oh, wow, yeah, check that out. There's your probability weighted pivot low for the current trading week, week 36. Telling you that the probability weighted pivot low is at 125 flat. Alrighty, I am good to go on calling that now. I got all the information that I need. Alright, next setup. See how quick it is to make your trade plans when you got your probabilities? Alrighty. Yeah, either this thing is topping out right here on Euro Yen, or it's going to go up to this R0.5 just above it. We can go ahead and look at the pivot probabilities here. Yeah, I'd be on the cautious side. I'd be on the cautious side trying to, you know, again, if it comes up to here, I would probably want to nab a short. It probably looks something along these lines. Let's see here. That'd be the stop on that. Somewhere around here would be the entry, and then you take that to end of week. Something like that on that sort of trade setup. But right here, right now, this is, considering Europe is already in a recession, it might be worth getting a little more aggressive on this and putting the stop in this trough here. So real quick, let me go ahead and bring out the drawing tool. You got a peak here and a peak here, and then you got a trough and another trough where your probabilities get super low. So the whole idea of putting your short in there and your stop in there is you're shorting the high probability peak and you're stopping out at the trough. Shorting the high probability peak and stopping at the trough. That's it. That's all it is. Okay. And on to the next one here. Let's check out the low odds real quick before we move on. Yeah. Here, let's get those drawings back. Would not be surprised to see that S1 pivot reached. Would not be surprised. Yeah, check that out. The bearish range bias in the dashboard here that tells you the summary statistics behind which pivot bias works. What's the frequency it hits its target? What's the frequency it hits its stop? Profit factor, all that good stuff. The only one that has decent profit factor stop loss ratio is the bearish range bias. About 78% of the time, you go below that S0.5 weekly pivot. And just as a little inspection, let's bring the pivots back. You can see how we have not touched or gone below that S0.5 weekly pivot so far. We just missed it by, it seems, some 5 odd pips. And that's usually where I like looking at these probabilities a bit more, frankly. But, you know what? Pivot probabilities gave me those odds. It's about 80% of the time you go below that pivot sometime this week. And if you also want to look at this, this also gives you the exact same probability as pivot probabilities. Pivot probability says 78.26% of the time Your low comes in below 175, 321, and range probabilities, which is based off the most recent data, says that 78.96% of the time you get your low for the week below 157.264. Okie doke. Numbers. We like to get our numbers. It's what keeps us safe. It's what keeps us on point. It's what keeps us moving fast and doing things we want to do other than, fucking look at charts and trading. There's more important things to learn about the world that can actually help us with figuring out the next best opportunity and the risks that are on the horizon and how a market actually operates, and staring at some damn charts and drawing some damn lines on it. Okie-doke. Aussie, New Zealand. I would not be surprised if it went and popped up a bit higher on this cross pair. Cross pairs are, it really does depend on this Aussie dollar. This is definitely on the harder side to pick, because definitely New Zealand is a more susceptible economy to China downside. But you got a lot of Australia data coming out over this week ahead. And I don't have to just like airy-fairy, wave my hand and say, oh, we're getting Australia data this week. You can just go down the economic calendar and see like, oh, Australia Composite Output Index. And then there's obviously the RBA, right? We've already talked about it in the Discord. And if you're not in the Discord, in the announcements channel are now like a bunch of research summary links. You can just see what topics I'm researching. I would love some help. So if you're also into doing some trade research, geopolitical research, any sort of research, learn on how to do it, go ahead, contribute, share some links, have some discussions. Help me out here. There's a lot of work, a lot of stuff to do. Hang out and talk with me, and I can give you some rabbit holes to go down. Some very productive rabbit holes too. Not like, oh, go just dig a little further. You'll eventually get to China. No, it's like there's actually an end point where you gotta stop doing research if just nothing's going on. Let's see here. Yeah, this China. So I'm surprised out of all the stuff that I'm looking at, all this research on, when it comes down to people talking about economic calendars, very, very few calendars. I even pointed it out in the general chat in the Discord. None of them mentioned this composite PMI and services PMI out of China. None of them mentioned these PMI data points coming out. These will move Aussie and New Zealand. These will move markets, these two data points. And these come before the RBA. So, Aussie and New Zealand pairs and arguably Japan pairs are going to be on the more volatile side. Understand that as China collapses, Japanese investors are trying to pull their money out. They do not want to be investing in a negative growth country. They're not getting yield at home. They got to put that money where they're getting yield. And if they're not getting it out of China, they'll put it into India. Alrighty. It's a lot easier and a lot more entertaining, in my opinion, to go down the macro and geopolitical rabbit holes and just see what the world is up to and what the world is doing. And then you have all that information in mind, and you come to the chart and you're like, oh, here's a peak. Here's a peak I need to look at, right? Oh, and there's a trough, right? And there's another peak. There's another peak at a trough and a peak and a trough. Yeah, visual inspection of probability distributions can be an exceedingly good skill to have as a discretionary trader. All right, next pair here. Yeah, non-zero probability we've topped out. Also, non-zero probability we move to that 65 level. But, I mean, I really don't like looking to the left, but it's incredibly hard to look just immediately at what's happened the last few times we've come to this flat level of 65. Just spike down, spike down, spike down, spike down, spike down. I'll be part of the next spike down if we're here. This is like a 50-50 shot pretty much on catching the top for the week. And then what, you got your stop up here, which is like 25-ish, 30 pips away. Not that bad of an idea. I did take a shot on that short actually today, a few hours ago. And yeah, the regular good old 20 basis points of risk, all the good stuff. And yeah, hopefully it actually does stop out this little thing and I'm able to get on a 30 or another 20 basis points up here at the better spot. Because man, that would that'd be like a free like 30-40 pips on top of it. It'd cover this loss, that's for sure, and give some, because I'm expecting us to be at 64 by end of week on this particular pair. I'm expecting 64 end of week, and 64, you know, we've tapped it last few weeks, but the probabilities are still quite significant that we go there, and it's only like a 5% probability that the low is in for the week right here, right now. So unless we have some extraordinarily positive swing and turnaround in China, I have no expectation for Aussie dollar to rebound. No expectation. I mean, RBA is going to be hiking here pretty shortly. Well, not hiking. They're going to be pausing here pretty shortly. The Fed is still more hawkish than the RBA. So just on a relative strength basis, not man. Aussie can get will probably get a little volatile, but it's probably going to end up, you know, staying bearish. Euro dollar, same shenanigans. I'm still holding on to this short, and I'm crossing my fingers I get another one here. I'm crossing my fingers I'm able to snag another one right here at 108.4. Real quick, let's pull up the wow. Those are some lows. That's a big old skew to the downside there. Let's set that to proper for the next week. Yeah, whoa, 22% of the time you top out here between central pivot. That's actually, you know, it's when I'm looking for bearish continuation odds, that whole shebang, I want to see this at 25. The fact that it's 22 is like, okay, that's kind of close to the threshold there. Might want to look out for if we're topping out here or topping out there. I don't think we'll end up hitting that R0.5 on this week. We'll probably be topping out here below the weekly central if I had the bet on it, and I currently am. So I'd be bringing this down to like way down there. I think Europe will be stronger going into this week. I'm expecting the move up, and then here, I'll just draw what I'm expecting. I'm expecting a bit more of a drift higher. Set that to green. A bit more of a positive drift higher going into Tuesday. Not that much though. And then a dip. A continuation. Okey-doke. Let's see here. Oh yeah, and wasn't that just literally, this was the best trade of last week. It was short the dollar off this like Pico top. This was like 1 pip away from the top. Well, it was still short on it. And you know what? I even though I did this trade live last week in the trading group, I posted another thread saying, I'm just going to assume that I got lucky. Let me actually look at this in more detail and see if mechanically, if someone at the beginning of the trading day had the expectation that we were going to shoot up to there, or they were looking at the chart at the same time as me, would it have been actually realistic if someone else would have caught that? Or was this just pure luck? I'm like, actually, there was enough time, first of all, and there was a big peak in the daily range probabilities distribution for where your top for the day was going to be. And last week's range probability highs were killing it. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, whoa, 30% of the time, seasonally, you top out here. And there's a peak in your distribution right here. Yeah, this thing could be topping out right now on the week. Literally, again, in the neck, this thing has to start chugging. It has to start chugging and moving higher, like right now, up to effectively 107. It's gotta move. All these pairs against all these yens have to move risk off and move 60 to 80 pips for there to be any sort of significantly risk on movement. Everything else is going to get faded, and you're not going to see that 60 to 80 pips of risk on directional move across these yen pairs unless you actually get the bullishness out of the economic data and some sort of surprise turnaround out of China. And I'm just super surprised about this pound yen. But then you go ahead and you look at this distribution, you're like, oh yeah, it's definitely got a little bit more randomness in it. It definitely has a little bit more uncertainty in it. You could have topped out here, you could have topped out here, but the difference between all these zones is not as... I mean, compare this to, I believe, euro dollar. Like, you can very clearly see, okay, here's a peak and here's a peak. Right here at the beginning of the week, right here close to the open, and right here, call it 0.5 to 0.7%. Totally reasonable. Oh, there's a peak there and the peak there. Yeah, this is like an ice skating rink. See how it goes? 5.6, 6.1, 6.5. These are all within 1 to 1.5% of each other. Probabilities between each one of these bins is just too similar. Outside of this one here that says 11, and this one here that says 7. Like, outside of this one particular area, it's just sliding off, and then you get a bump, and here's all your tail risk there. All right, here's the next one. CAD yen. Damn. What happened here on that? Did we hit like a monthly target right off the bat on this? Oh my god. Dude. Yeah, you would have known this, at least at the open, to start, taking some pot shot longs here at the 107. I mean, your stop would have had to be about 60 pips away in order to save your ass on the stats side of things. Pardon my French, but that is a volatile spike, and you'll get all puckered up when you see that thing move fast, and you're looking at it and like, oh, do I take a trade? Dude, 20 basis points ain't gonna ruin the day. It's not going to be the end of the world. Like, okay, if you're doing 1% risk per trade, you're gonna, and you're taking pot shots at some sort of volatility like this, you're gonna pucker up real fast, man. It's gonna be hard to work through this emotionally, let's just say. But man, this, you take a shot on this with 20 basis points and you put it down there, and like an easy 60 pips. Here, I'll even do a quick little replay on this. Oh my god, it's almost like that was the peak in your distribution. Look at that. That's almost saying, oh, this is where most of your lows for the week occur. Oh my god. Let's look at our low pivot probabilities and see if it also lined up seasonally. That lined up on the high side. Oh my god, that's the probability weighted pivot low from, well, that's technically this week. I gotta load up last week's data, right? Week 35 is last week's. Oh my god, it's even a better fit. It hit that probability weighted pivot line. Oh my god. Why don't more people get these damn indicators, man? Like, people guessing and shit. Oh, do I go long this pivot? Do I not go long that pivot? Is this a good dip or not to buy? How much risk? Get some probabilities, man. Figure out your odds. Like, this stuff can get so... I am here every single day, every single week, posting all my trades for free and doing all this analysis for free. All this stuff that, it used to take me... I used to post videos and live streams that were like 3-4 hours of me just reading outlooks and going over these charts. And then as time went on, it went on to 2-hour live streams, 1.5-hour live streams, 1-hour live streams. And now we get to the 30-minute mark and I'm like, I'm ready to conk out. It's like, well, what else do you want me to show you guys? You want me to show you another low that is the likely low for the week, or another low that's the likely low for months? Like, how many times do I gotta show you with these things in like 3 different ways with 5 different probability measures? Like, oh, that's probably a good low to buy. I hope you actually understand what it is you're trading, because actually focusing on that is way more interesting, because you're learning more about the world, you're learning how other countries operate, what their major imports, exports are, who they're dealing with, who runs the country, what their expectations are, what their vision for the future is, who are the major players in those countries, what are some major cultural environment things going on, are the unions making any moves? You learn more about the world, and then you figure out collectively, if China has this sort of economic downturn, then these actors in this country are going to probably react in this way. You end up with a much healthier set of future expectations for the world around you. And when you understand the world better, you'll be able to figure out things like having an expectation for how the market works a lot more easily. The more you relate about the world and the more competent you are about it, the easier it'll be for you to make autonomous trading decisions from them. There's some self-determination theory lingo about that. And you don't need me to externally motivate you. You got some family member, you got some bills trying to force you to hand over some cashola. I'm just here saying it could be a lot easier doing it this way. And if you want, you can do it this way. But you gotta wanna do it this way, because it means you actually gotta get somewhat competent about what it is you're actually doing. And not be like, oh, I'm just looking at the lines and the numbers and all the probabilities. Oh, it's too much. Oh man, reading the outlooks, it's too much. Come on, reading for 3-4 hours about how the world works and future expectations. Like, I get it. Maybe there's some jargon in there that you might not like. But if you want to be trading at a professional level, and professional means you're profitable and you have the same sort of expectations and knowledge about the world as the people who actually make decisions with the several billions of dollars they make decisions with, you're probably going to want to know how they think, what expectations they got, where are they sharing their opinions, all that kind of good stuff. And that may mean you'll learn a little bit of financial jargon along the way. Oh no. It's all about where you look for the info, my man. It's all about where you look for the info. And the quality of the info, too. Alright, well, this is actually a bit of an interesting scenario here on New Zealand yen. So, I'm going to bring out the drawing tool, and I want you guys to check this out. So, see how we have this distribution on our low end, and it looks like that? It looks like it literally looks like a swimming pool slide. You know, you're going to climb up it here and then slide down it like that. Well, that's unimodal. There's one peak here. Now this is something called multimodal. This is trimodal. So you got a peak here and a peak here and a peak here. So you got 3 spots with more densely packed data points of where the top for the week is most likely going to occur. So I prefer trading the multimodal distributions than I do the unimodal. Because you see how the probabilities look a bit flat here in the histogram? See how it goes 7.3, 8.1, 7.6, 9.2. And you know what? This is a skill you learn in a statistics class. In a statistics 1 class. You're like, oh, what's the shape of the distribution when you roll a die? It looks like a freaking rectangle, right? Because the probability of you getting when you're rolling a die, any single outcome is equivalent to any other outcome. Your odds of getting a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4 or a 5 or a 6 is the number of outcomes. 1 over 6. So you do that over 6 different outcomes, and it looks like a big box. So when you look at this distribution and you're like, oh, that kind of looks a bit boxy. It's like the behavior, this looks like an ice skating rink. Yeah, sometimes it goes down that far. Sometimes it goes down that far. Literally, this is kind of the point of this indicator and point of this distribution is to say that it's a guess. This is guessing. And you don't want to be guessing when you're trading. I mean, look at this. Like, maybe there's something here. Maybe there's something there to take, because you could put your probabilities in a spot where you don't frequently go. You could put your stop right there, right? Because the probabilities down here, look, there's the 25% probability line. So that means 25% of your lows are below that line. You know, maybe you're like, okay, once we start getting that far off, we're starting to get into some tail risk, fat tail stuff, you know, super volatile, unprecedented things. I probably don't want to be, you know, long at prices way down here. So if I do take a pot shot here, stop right there, 20 basis points, all good. All good if I get stopped out. Otherwise, I'm going to make, you know, 60, 80, 100 basis points off of a trade that actually has pretty good odds. Because I can actually go and pull up, oh, what's the actual probability of me given any single week over the last 3,000 12-hour bars? What's the distribution of outcomes look like? And this is all predicated on you actually know what you're trading. You understand the economy of New Zealand. You understand the economy of Japan. And you understand the things that could impact those economies. Which is why I'm always emphasizing you got to learn more about the world, my dude. You always got to learn more and more and more. And the more you know, the more risk aware you'll be. But risk awareness is on the same coin also as opportunity. The same tools you use to manage your risk are also some of the same tools you use to filter out which opportunities can be the best. So you kill two birds in one stone there. And that's probably a no-go. Don't do anything for me. That chart. And look at that. Yeah, this is... Some dudes probably took their shot short here, and some dudes probably took their shot long here at the very beginning of the week. This is going to be a really weird scenario, because this is a scenario where literally you gotta crack that top, or you gotta crack that low before you can really make any distinction about the direction on the dollar you want. That's what we're looking at here, is dollar you want. USD CNH, yeah. China keeps trying to step in, keeps trying to stimulate the economy, and ain't working. It ain't doing jack. So obviously some guys are taking pot shots on the short side. They tried to buy that rebound, but it'll probably make a new low. It'll probably make a new low if China doesn't figure out a way to save their economy. On a side note, Xi Jinping isn't going to the G20 summit, yet Putin is still sending one of his heads of foreign affairs to the G20 summit. So Putin and Russia are going to be represented at the G20, but China isn't. Yeah, China is isolating themselves. Doesn't help that they're in a big old fight with India. You know, BRICS, the I and the C are at war with each other. How useful that alignment is. Now it's added more people who can't agree with each other. Yeah, this is gonna be a bit tricky, this one here on dollar CAD. Here, I want to check it out on the month. Maybe a bit higher here on the month, maybe 136.5. I'd like to get this spot right here in the upper half of the 136 handle. Yeah, and you can see that there's a peak here in the distribution in that spot I'm interested in. I'd love to catch a short there. But understand that this is dollar CAD, so this is dollar bullishness. This is still technically in line with my expectations. I have no timing expectations here, so I'm just going to, real quick, set that to green, put that back. I'm just going to set a bullish expectation here, and you can kind of see I've been pretty good. And also, I used range probabilities to catch that little thing. Yeah, and then I actually got out there. This trade I had to cut, and then I'm not sure. I was just called that one was a loss, that's a win. That was a loss, that was a win, that was a win. This was great trading for me. I don't know about you guys, but those 2 weeks were freaking good. That was a pretty active period. Yeah, this is my expectation. And then New Zealand dollar. Again, more ice skating rink, similar odds in this spot here. Yeah, other than getting the short off here, 59.6, I don't know, maybe I'd grab a short here just below the 60 level, but I don't know, I'd be on the more conservative side. I'd take the pot shot on the short here and slam the stop at 59.8. And let's see here, DXY. Yeah, just tad lower. If it could just get a bit lower, if it could get into the 103.9s, so just below 104, this area is going to have a lot of bottom wick candles. You're going to probably see some buyers show up right around there. That'd be my expectation. And then you could, yeah, check that out. Stop out right here. Something along these lines. All right, let's just put out at that central pivot because pivot point, whatever the hell. And then slam that up there. Neat little trade. And I didn't even need pivots for it. And I mean, you don't even need to have these pivots on. You're just looking at the peaks and the distributions, right? Pivots are just a good thresholding metric. Give you some frame of reference if you want them. And you're a pound, probably a buy right now, in my opinion. Yeah, and then stop 85. What is that? 3.5. Yeah, I'll just do that. 85, 3.5. And it'll probably shoot up like that or shoot way up like that. Yeah. That looks pretty darn straightforward to me. Okie doke. Commodities. Real quick, let's run the percent change. Wood doing really well. Oil doing really well. Really well. Let's check out WTI. Also holding up well. 89. 89's on the cards this week. 89's on the card. Copper probably topped out here. And some guys who are bullish are probably buying here. Yeah, this is another one of those situations where it's like, till you get past here or get past here. You got to be knowledgeable about what's going on in the copper market. Alrighty. Probably a little more downside in store for silver, probably 33.64. Somewhere around the 33.6 spots. Wheat. Oh, wheat is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Yeesh. And look at that. Oh. Looks like I accidentally pulled my watch list over. Oh yeah, this is last week. Yeah, that's not this week. But look at that top. There's your peak and your distribution. Lumbar. And net gas. Oh. No fucking way. No way. No shit. No shit. No fucking way. No fucking way. Oh my god. Oh my fucking god. Look at that shit. Oh my fucking god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, I'm tearing up. This is so hilarious. Oh my god. Oh, damn, dude, this tool's insane. Oh, no way. Oh my god. And it did it twice, too. Maybe it's time to... Yeah, it's at a peak here. You put the stop there. Conservatively up there. Man, that is a sharp bimodal peak. Alrighty, and let's check out the yields. Man. You know, bless the people who watch these streams. You're getting a lot of value out of these things. I mean, shit, you've watched 50 minutes of it. Like, subscribe, damn bastard, and then come hang out with me in the Discord. I'll show you more. I'm gonna skip over the yields. Actually, I'll go over to ZB. I'll just look at ZB. Yeah, ZB's gonna have a bit more of a dip and then rally. That's my expectation. I mean, look at my expectations from back here. Up, down, up. I didn't do it last week. Yeah, that was the consensus. Yeah. Da, 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 da. Let's do it again. Let's do it again, Joe. Set up another trade plan ahead of time, before the price even gets there, and let's see how it does. Alright, XMR. XMR is probably going up to this R1. Okay. Up, and then just a bit lower. Just a bit lower. Litecoin, no clue, but down. ETH. Yeah, this is an ice skating rink on the upside. But would not be surprised to see the low somewhere down there this week. 15, yeah, so probably like another $80 lower is where probably the low for this week's gonna come in at. Yeesh. If there's any sort of up move on Bitcoin, you know, it'll kind of look similar to what I just did on XMR. Bit up to about 26.8k, and then sub 25 potentially this week, my boys. Sub 25 on Bitcoin potentially this week. Oh no, my Bitcoin. How come is it now, after I've been streaming for an hour, that all the viewers start to come in after I start doing all the cool stuff? Hey, you guys, nice to see you. As soon as I go over the crazy nat gas call from last week where I Pico top called that one, and then I even freaking Pico top called the USD JPY trade from last week too, so there was. And then I'm like, you know, this isn't the first time I've done that. I go ahead and I pull up the USD CAD swing trade for the whole month way back over here. Just distributions, guys. This is probabilities. And it's not even like you gotta know crazy hard math. It's just, you're just inspecting a mountain and you're finding the peaks. Right? Here's a peak, there's a peak, there's something there. And then there's a trough, you know. Enter at the peaks and stops at the troughs. Simple as that. That's the entire strategy with this thing. Alrighty, you guys. I'm pretty much done with everything. Hopefully this is a pretty enjoyable thing. I don't know. If you learned anything, comment, hop in the Discord, come hang out, leave a like if you watched it all the way through this far. And if you want to learn more about these indicators and this sort of stuff, just ask in the Discord. I can send you links to the trading group and the whatnot if you're not already in it. Alrighty, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I've been your boss, Joe Boss. Just know the more you learn about the world, the better at trading you can get. And I'm here to help you learn more about the world. In a bit, you guys.